and one of my enemies is in boiling hot shit. And I mean that stinky, smelly, hot lava
Coming out of me like lava!
cow dung fire out of my ass type of shit.
Oh my God!
You know what I'm talking about. So, my friend Dana White and the UFC are being investigated by the FBI for allegedly fixing over 100 fights.
100.
With the latest one over the weekend.
He called the fighter and his lawyer and said, what's going on? There's some weird betting action going on in your fight. Are you injured? Do you owe anybody money? And the kid said, no, absolutely not. I'm going to kill this guy. And, Louis said, okay. The fight plays out and first round finish. Literally, the first thing we did was call the FBI.
Boxing legend Oscar De La Hoya drops a bombshell on UFC President Dana White. De La Hoya sent a brutal message questioning the UFC's integrity, sparking controversy across the MMA world. While he didn't directly call anything scripted or fake, his comments cast doubt on the organization's credibility, and the timing couldn't be more explosive. Fans and analysts are now debating what this means for the UFC and its future matchups. The Golden Boy didn't just throw a jab, he threw a knockout combination directly at Dana White's credibility, his business model, and even his family relationships. And it's absolutely explosive. Listen to this. Dana, you can't run a boxing organization when you don't have any fighters.
You can't run a boxing organization when you don't have any fighters.
But this isn't just another promoter rivalry. With the UFC still reeling from a massive betting scandal that brought FBI agents to their headquarters and Dana White now trying to break into boxing, the timing of these attacks couldn't be more devastating. Let's start with what sparked this latest explosion. Oscar De La Hoya took to his Instagram series called Clapback Thursday and absolutely unleashed on Dana White. And when I say unleashed, I mean he went for the jugular. Here's what De La Hoya said, and I quote, "Everyone is asking me for my opinion on Dana White trying to enter the boxing space again.
Everyone has been asking me for my opinion and thoughts on Dana White attempting to enter the boxing space. Again!
But here's where it gets really interesting. De La Hoya brought up leaked fighter pay documents from TKO, and he had some shocking things to say about them. If these leaked salaries are real, Dana is going to have several problems. No fighter is going to fight for pennies. The majority of their prospects will fight 1 or 2 times a year and be forced to survive on minimum pay. Keep in mind, they will be fighting tough fights because Dana says the best must fight the best. So their careers will be short.
Dana's gonna have several problems. Number 1, no fighter is going to fight for these pennies. The majority of their prospects will fight 1 or 2 times a year and be forced to survive on minimum pay.
You're broke!
And keep in mind, they will be fighting tough fights. Dana said, the best must fight the best.
Bruh.
So their careers will be
And then came the knockout punch. Most importantly, if these numbers are real, the UFC fighters will be so pissed that the TKO fighters are getting paid so much more than they are. UFC fighters are already disgusted with how little they get paid for putting their lives on the line.
Most importantly, number 3, if these numbers are real,
Bruh.
the UFC fighters will be so pissed the TKO boxers will be getting paid so much more than they are. UFC fighters are already disgusted with how little they get paid for putting their lives on the line.
On November 2nd, 2025, a fighter named Isaac Dolgarin was involved in a fight that had massive, suspicious betting activity. We're talking about odds that plummeted from minus 250 to minus 154 in just 1 hour before the fight. Bettors were placing huge amounts on a very specific outcome, first-round submission victory. Dana White himself confirmed he met with FBI agents twice in 1 day. And there was an office full of FBI agents at UFC headquarters. Here's what De La Hoya said. As for Dana's character, it speaks for itself. I don't even have to say anything about a guy whose own mother wrote a book about what a terrible person her son is.
Dana's character? It speaks for itself.
Bruh.
I don't even have to say anything about a guy who publicly slapped his own wife and whose own mother wrote a book about what a terrible person her son is.
This is referring to a book titled Dana White, King of MMA, written by Dana's mother, June White. The book reportedly contained unflattering portrayals of Dana's character and their relationship. De La Hoya also pointed out White's previous failed attempts to enter boxing. Dana White has tried space several times and failed. Remember Zuffa? That never even got off the ground. When Dana doesn't have the funding and business brains like the Fertitas and Turki Al-Sheikh, he always fails.
Dana's gonna have several problems. Number one, no fighter is going to fight for these pennies. The majority of their prospects will fight 1 or 2 times a year and be forced to survive on minimum pay.
You're wrong.
And keep in mind, they will be fighting tough fights. Dana said, the best must fight the best. So their careers will be short. Number two, no pay-per-view fighter will fight for $750,000. You're telling me the Canelos and the Ryans of this world are going to agree to this kind of pay cut?
This is a direct shot at White's business acumen, essentially saying he's only successful when other people bankroll him and make the smart decisions. De La Hoya also expressed feeling offended that Turki Al-Sheikh, the man behind Riyadh's season, would hand boxing promotion responsibilities to Dana White instead of working exclusively with established boxing promoters like himself. De La Hoya said, "I've been boxing all my life and I've been promoting for 20-odd years. Nobody's going to touch me there because we are the best developers in the fight game and we take our fighters to championship levels, to superstardom like the way we did with Canelo and Ryan Garcia."
I've been in boxing all my life, and I've been promoting for 20 some odd years. So what I'm gonna do is stay in my lane and do what I do for Golden Boy and with the Zone, and give the fight fans the best fights that can possibly be made, just the way we've been doing for years. And working with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh season and sprinkling these championship big events. Yeah, it's an honor for me to do that. But I have my business that I'm going to take care of as well. And nobody's going to touch me there because we are the best developers in the fight game. And we take our fighters to championship levels, to superstardom, like the way we did with Canelo and Ryan Garcia.
Now, you might be wondering, what did Dana White say in response to all of this? While White hasn't issued a direct, lengthy response to De La Hoya's recent rants on Twitter or other platforms addressing these specific accusations, his past statements and actions speak volumes. During the UFC betting scandal press conferences, White was defiant. He said, and I quote, "If you try to do this, I've been very vocal and very open about this. We will be your worst enemy. We will immediately go after you. Guns blazing with the FBI and whoever else we need to get."
If you try to do this, I've been very vocal and very open about this. We will be your worst enemy. We will immediately go after you. Guns are blazing with the FBI and whoever else we need to get.
White has also repeatedly defended UFC fighter pay, though the numbers tell a different story. While UFC stars like Conor McGregor make millions, many fighters on the undercard make just $12,000 to $24,000 per fight, with no health insurance and having to pay for their own training camps.
What's the biggest fight you've ever had?
Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, which ironically is a boxing event, but it's the biggest combat sports fight ever.
What did that gross?
It did 4.4 or 4.5 million buys at $100 a buy.
Yeah. So that worked out okay.
It did.
White has also been dismissive of boxing in the past, calling it a dying sport and claiming the UFC has surpassed it. But now, with TKO Group and Turki Al-Sheikh backing him, White is making a serious push into boxing, with plans for a September 2025 event potentially headlined by Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. White has also addressed criticism about UFC's integrity, insisting that the promotion works with IC360, the best bet monitoring company in the business, and that they monitor every single fight. But critics point out that monitoring is meaningless if you don't act on the information, which the UFC failed to do with the Dolgarin fight.
We're with a company called IC360, and they are the best bet monitoring company in the business. And they reached out to us and they told us that there was some unusual action going on with that fight. Do we know anything? We didn't. So what we did was we called the fighter and his lawyer and said, what's going on? There's some weird action going on in your bet.
Oscar De La Hoya is right that UFC fighter pay is significantly lower than boxing. He's right that the UFC has faced serious integrity questions with the recent betting scandal. And he's right that Dana White's previous boxing ventures have failed. But Dana White is also right that boxing has become fragmented with too many champions and too many sanctioning bodies. His plan to create one champion per weight class, similar to the UFC model, actually makes sense for fans.
Why do you think the UFC gets so much flack for not paying their fighters?
Because I don't tell anybody what they get paid. I don't tell anybody what they get paid, and guess what? Neither do the fighters. There's no gag order in place. These fighters could come out and say exactly what they make.
He's talking about the money that he owes me. They say, oh, we're going to back pay you from the money that we owe you from the Stipe and Senegal fight. All that, they never back pay me. Now I have made more money than I would have ever made in the UFC. I would say maybe twice the money that I could have ever made in my entire UFC career. Either way, if I have made less money, if I'm not making less money, enough money that I could have made in the UFC, that would be my problem. Why is it so pissed about me not making that much money?
Francis Ngannou just dropped the biggest bombshell in UFC history, and Dana White never saw it coming. I land my best shot even on me, then it's over. I had a dealer after the Stipe fight. I had a deal on the table for over $1 million, and then the party pulled off because before that, I had a deal.
I land my best shot even on me, then it's over.
I had a deal. After the Stipe fight, I had a deal on the table for over $1 million, and then the party pulled off. Because before that, I had a deal.
The former UFC heavyweight champion isn't pulling punches anymore. He's demanding his money, exposing the system, and Dana White just fired back on Twitter. This isn't just another fighter complaint. This is a $50 million lawsuit that could destroy the UFC as we know it. Francis Ngannou, the man who went from sand mines in Cameroon to the top of the UFC, has filed a massive $50 million lawsuit against the UFC and its parent company TKO Holdings.
And if this continue, if you want, I can bring up all the numbers. I have all the numbers. I have all the receipts.
You want to bring them up now, or
I have numbers.
You want now or later?
No, let's keep it again. I don't like to bring numbers up, but if I need to, I will.
His accusation? The UFC built an empire on his back, robbed him blind, and silenced him when he tried to speak up about fighter pay and sponsorship rights. According to leaked court filings, Ngannou is accusing the UFC of withholding millions in unpaid bonuses, sponsor royalties, and pay-per-view percentages from his 2021 to 2022 fights. He claims he was systematically underpaid by as much as 80% of the revenue he generated.
Work for both parties. Then we get to another point, sponsorship deal. Why sponsorship deal? Because before that, I had a deal. After the Stipe fight, I had a deal on the table for over $1 million for a wallet. So I was going to have like 1.2 million, which is the money that I never had in the fight. I was going to have that in the sponsorship. And the deal was this close to sign. And then they announced the Crypto.com deal.
But here's where it gets explosive. Francis revealed he once had a $1.2 million sponsorship deal on the table that was canceled overnight because of the UFC's exclusive Crypto.com partnership. I had a deal after the Stipe fight. I had a deal on the table for over $1 million, and then they announced the Crypto.com deal, and then the party pulled up.
I had a deal. After the Stipe fight, I had a deal on the table for over $1 million, and then they announced the Crypto.com deal, and then the party pulled up.
Imagine training for years, winning the world title, and watching a seven-figure deal vanish because your employer wants to control what logo appears on your shorts. The lawsuit alleges breach of contract, exploitation of image rights, and intentional interference with independent sponsorship opportunities. Francis claims he lost tens of millions when the UFC forced fighters to wear branded gear under these exclusive deals. And the documents don't stop there. Private text messages allegedly exchanged between UFC executives refer to Ngannou as a risky investment we need to devalue before he gets ideas.
Well, unless he was the one writing me the check, I don't see how he can know that. Me, as the inside one that was receiving those money after leaving the UFC, and from what the UFC was proposing, who was just a trap, he wasn't a solid contract as well. That's a lie.
If true, this confirms what Francis has been saying for years. The UFC systematically suppresses fighter leverage to keep payrolls low and profits sky high. Dana White didn't stay silent for long. In classic Dana fashion, he dismissed Ngannou's claims and mocked his decision to leave the UFC. Based on what I know about the deal, which is not much, it makes no sense to me. I mean, you're going to pay a guy not to fight for a year, and it's already been like 18 months.
Based on what I know about the deal, which is not much, It makes no sense to me. I mean, you're going to pay a guy not to fight for a year, and it's already been like 18 months.
Dana called Ngannou's PFL deal nonsense and suggested Francis was taking zero risks by avoiding top UFC competition like John Jones. But Francis's legal team fired back hard. They argue that Dana's public remarks were part of a calculated PR campaign to devalue Ngannou's marketability after he left the UFC. The lawsuit claims Dana's statements directly cost Francis multiple boxing sponsorships worth over $3 million combined. One sponsor reportedly backed out after White publicly said, "Francis doesn't want to take any risks. He doesn't want to take any chances."
Francis Ngannou is making his MMA debut at PFL. I just want to get your thoughts on that. And
what do I care?
For sure. Thank you.
The UFC's lawyers deny all wrongdoing, arguing White's comments were opinions protected under free speech. But Ngannou's team insists it wasn't opinion, it was retaliation. And then came the erasure. The moment Francis walked away from the octagon, the UFC deleted him from promotional reels, highlight compilations, and even the 100 greatest knockouts list. A stunning move for a man once called the most dangerous puncher in the world.
Francis Ngannou has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punch is the equivalent to 96 horsepower, which is equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can. And it's more powerful than a 12-pound sledgehammer swung full force from overhead. Holy shit.
Here's where this lawsuit gets truly damaging for the UFC. Francis didn't just complain, he brought receipts. The 87-page filing includes what insiders are calling the contract manipulation playbook, a leaked internal UFC document that allegedly details how the promotion extends fighter deals indefinitely through rolling renewal clauses. These clauses automatically restart the contract clock every time a fighter accepts a new bonus, a sponsorship adjustment, or even a rescheduled bout. Francis explained it perfectly. By 20 months, they will come to renegotiate little bit more money. If you say yes, then they are giving you a new 40 months, which means they start over because of that little, because of the money that they added.
By 20 months, they will come to negotiate. A little bit more money if you say yes, then they are giving you a new 40 months, which means they start over because of the money.
And the numbers back him up. The UFC's profit margins reportedly hit 48%, one of the highest in all professional sports. Yet fighters collectively earned less than 18% of total revenue. Compare that to the NFL, where athletes take home 48%, or boxing, where fighters get over 60% of event revenue. UFC fighters sometimes barely make enough to pay their camp and taxes. When Francis says they have room to pay more, he's not speculating. He's quoting the UFC's own books. The lawsuit also reveals that when Ngannou left in early 2023, the UFC retaliated immediately. Within 60 days, Francis was erased from UFC digital marketing, excluded from promotional materials, and allegedly had his likeness licensing payments frozen. Court documents cite internal emails where executives instructed marketing teams to phase out Ngannou assets pending audit. Corporate translation for erase him quietly. Fighters who once stayed silent are now speaking up. Nate Diaz tweeted, "He ain't lying." Jorge Masvidal wrote, "They talk loyalty until you ask for your worth." Even the UFC's stock took a hit. Following the lawsuit announcement, TKO Holdings stock dropped nearly 9% in a single day, wiping out over $1.2 billion in market value. Behind the scenes, things are worse. The UFC allegedly offered Francis a $70 million settlement to withdraw the lawsuit and sign a non-disclosure agreement.
when I started in France, 2 first fight was free. I have another tournament. I won, get some money. I'm like, not bad.
Do you remember how much you got?
2,000 euro.
And how much did that change your life?
2,000 euro can change your life. But I was very happy about that. And I just took the money and go put it under the mattress.
Does Tom want to go into the boxing world and maybe fight a Tyson Fury, maybe fight a Deontay Wilder?
I don't know if he does, but I think if you get into that top percentage of the sport, the UFC do not pay anywhere near as much as the boxing does. And I know, being around Tom every day, that when he spars good boxers, he spars good. So I think he'd do really well against a real high-class boxer.
With Zuffa Boxing under Dana White's leadership, do you think there could be an eventual crossover where you get a massive super fight that could be on a Netflix?
It doesn't depend on me, that depends on Dana White. But I think Tom has the ability, because I've seen him box at the highest level against some real good guys, that he could be at that level.
Tom Aspinall and his father, Andy Aspinall, have just dropped a massive bombshell message to Dana White. The Aspinall family is seriously considering leaving the UFC for boxing after a devastating eye poke incident at UFC 321 left Tom potentially blind in one eye. And Dana White has responded on Twitter.
Only Tom knows what happened. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? I can't make people fight if they feel they've been injured. After the Jones fight, a lot of people wrote Cyril gone off. He looked damn good tonight. I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. The rematch is very interesting.
Tom Aspinall, the UFC heavyweight champion, suffered repeated eye pokes from Cyril Gane that have left him unable to see. His father is furious. The family is talking about boxing, and the entire MMA world is asking, is this the moment that changes everything? Stay with us as we break down the biggest controversy in UFC right now. Let's get straight to what everyone's talking about. The Aspinall family is seriously considering leaving the UFC for boxing. In an exclusive interview, Andy Aspinall, Tom's father and head coach, didn't hold back when addressing the repeated questions about Tom potentially switching to boxing, and his answer was shocking. Andy stated, "People who are around me all the time know that boxers are around me all the time. It's just because of the money. If your son was a fighter, would you want him to fight for a ton of money or not a ton of money? It's a no-brainer."
People who are around me all the time know that. Boxers are around me all the time. It's just because of the money. And it's the back to, if your son was a fighter, would you sooner fight for a ton of money or not a ton of money? It's a no-brainer, but people still have.
But here's what makes this different. This isn't just about money. This is about safety and respect. Andy is saying that boxing offers both significantly more money and significantly more safety. Because you can't extend your fingers in boxing gloves. You can't poke someone in the eye 5 times in one round. And here's the stat that will blow your mind. Do you know how many fighters have been disqualified for eye pokes in UFC history? 0. Not a single one. Never happened. Eye pokes are essentially a free foul in the UFC. Andy Aspinall put it bluntly. The guy who fouled him, no consequence to him. And now there's a consequence to Tom, and hopefully it'll be all right. But it might not be.
The guy who fouled him, no consequence to him. And now there's a consequence to Tom. And hopefully it'll be all right, but it might not be.
Think about that. Tom Aspinall could lose his vision permanently, and Cyril Gane faces 0 punishment. No points deducted, no disqualification, nothing. So how has UFC President Dana White responded to this bombshell? According to Andy Aspinall's interview, Dana White addressed the eye poke situation by asking, "What does it take to make an eye poke intentional? And is there even a way you could ever prove that?" But here's where it gets heated. Andy revealed that Dana's response was essentially, he doesn't give a fuck about determining whether eye pokes are intentional.
What does it take to make an eye poke intentional, and is there even a way you could ever prove that?
Who the knows? Who gives a
Now, Dana White has since taken to Twitter to address the controversy and clarify the UFC's stance on fighter safety. But the damage appears to be done. The Aspinall family feels abandoned by the organization they've dedicated years to. Andy's response to all the commentary and Dana's position, quote, "Who the funcha knows? Who gives a fuchets? My thing is, I go to the gym every day for 2 or 3 hours in the morning and coach fighters. The other stuff around it is just noise."
And then I teach jiu-jitsu at night. And I love the sport. And then I go to the fights with Tom, and the process is great. And he has a fight, and that's the sport, and that's how he gets paid, and that's his job. And then after the fight, it goes down a bit, we have a few weeks off, and then we're back in the gym again and doing the same again. And I like that. And that's my thing that I've done with my son since he was 7 or 8 years old, and I enjoy it. The other stuff around it is just noise.
But this isn't just noise. This is about Tom's career. This is about his eyesight. This is about whether he can see his 3 kids grow up. Now let's break down what actually happened at UFC 321 that's caused this massive controversy. October 25th, 2025. UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. Tom Aspinall was making his first defense of the undisputed UFC heavyweight title against Cyril Gane. This was a fight 15 months in the making after John Jones retired, and Tom was elevated to undisputed champion.
Cyril Gane in black. Tom Cyril Gane. Moving into Aspinall. Oh, nice. Connect. Aspinall goes hot. And Cyril Gane was ranked higher than Tom. Quick jab from Gane. Don't love the spinning. Leaky here early. He's even scared. The world. Look like an eye poke there as Gane.
But the fight turned into a nightmare. According to video analysis that Andy Aspinall shared, there were 5 separate eye pokes in the first round alone. Video breakdown showed 10 extended fingers and 4 direct eye pokes total from Cyril Gane. Tom was repeatedly telling his corner, "I can't see. I can't see." And here's what makes this even more disturbing. This wasn't just the first round. Andy revealed that Cyril had already poked Tom in the eye earlier in the fight when Tom went for a takedown.
Guys, I just got fucking poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. Why are you booing? I can't see. This is bullshit. The fight was just getting going. Complete bullshit. I'm pissed off.
Andy Aspinall reviewed the footage with doctors and described the pattern. Every time his hand comes out, it does this, with extended fingers pointed forward. You should never punch like this. When your hand goes out to hit somebody, your hand should never go out like this. The fight was eventually ruled a no contest because Tom literally couldn't continue. He couldn't see. And as Andy powerfully stated, if you can't see, you can't fight. If you can't see, you're going to get hurt.
It was really bad how it looks. And he said, you can't train your eyeball to be stronger. It is what it is. You've protection here and here, but he obviously got no protection because the fingers were straight in. The fight should have been stopped. He couldn't see. It was a foul. He couldn't see. Then you can't fight. You know, if he'd have got knocked out with a head kick next, then it would have been worse. I don't know. And then he said, sometimes when your eyes here like that, it can become displaced and stay there. And they did a few tests on that, and they said it doesn't seem like that. And his vision on the eye that's the best eye, his eye wasn't following properly, so the muscles weren't working strong enough to go this way. This one just wasn't working that good at all. So we've got to have additional tests further this week, and Moyes is sorting the tests out for us, and he's got to have a CT scan.
The medical situation is absolutely terrifying, and this is where you understand why the Aspinall family is considering leaving the UFC. The doctors explained what happens during a direct eye poke. Your eye socket is round, your eyeball is round, and when fingers go straight in, the eyeball compresses like a ball being flattened on the floor. When it springs back, it can cause catastrophic internal damage. And here's the truly frightening part. The doctor told them he's seen people lose their eyes completely from pokes like this. Some people go permanently blind.
He already got one twice, at least once, for poking. Keep his fingers close, the ref said. And he's nearly poked me in the eye before. Feels like the back of my eyeballs hurt.
Just sting you.
It's not even stinging now, it's painful. It's like, it feels like my eye, someone's touched the back of my eyeball.
Days after the fight, Tom still couldn't see out of his right eye. They're waiting to see if time will heal it, but there are no guarantees. Andy Aspinall, clearly emotional, said, "It's terrifying, really. Everything's about his health. It's not about fighting, but it's a bad consequence if you lose your sight, especially by a foul."
Terrifying, really, isn't it?
For me, everything's about his health. It's not about fighting. That's just what he chose to do as a job. And one of the consequences, you can get hurt. But it's a bad consequence if you lose your sight. And especially by a foul.
This incident has exposed a serious safety crisis in the UFC that's been ignored for years. Andy Aspinall is calling for major changes. He pointed out that the old Pride FC gloves were designed differently, making it much harder to extend fingers. But the UFC hasn't adopted these safety measures. Why? Andy suggests it might be about money and entertainment value. More open-fingered gloves allow for more varied techniques, which some believe makes fights more exciting and marketable. But Andy asked the question that should haunt the UFC. What will it take to change these rules? Will it take somebody's eye being poked out and falling on the floor? If they care about people, they should do something.
What will it take to change those rules? Will it take somebody's eye being poked and falling on the floor? I don't know if that's a thing. I'm sure it's not, but what does it take?
Little gone in black. Tom Aragon. Moving into Aspinall. Oh, nice. Aspinall goes hot. Cyril Gane was ranked higher than Tom. Quick jab from Gane. I don't love the spinning. Leaky here early. Is he prepared? The wolf. Look like an eye poke there as Gane.
For everybody, a lot of energy in this fight, so a little bit disappointed, but this is the sport for this one.
Sir, you were fighting a wonderful... Israel Adesanya and MMA pros drop a massive bombshell on Tom Aspinall ahead, 321 of Cyril Gane's scary looks. They said we're wearing about Tom. Some of the biggest names in the UFC, including former champion Israel Adesanya, are sending you a serious message. They believe Cyril Gane has what it takes to shock the world at UFC 321. This isn't just talk. These fighters are seeing something that could spell trouble for the interim heavyweight champion. Let's break down exactly what they're saying.
Anthony? No, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed. I talked all day yesterday. Like, I just want to see Tom have to overcome some adversity. I want to see what he does when when his first plan of action doesn't work. What's he checked down to? Is he gonna wrestle? Can he compete with Cyril Gane on his feet for 25 minutes? And I don't get any of those answers, and just like everybody at home, I'm disappointed.
Being poked in the eye is illegal, Brendan, but to fight with one eye is very common. The opponent's trying to hit your eye. He's trying to bust up and make your nose bleed. So that part of it does have question for guys like Anthony and I. We're trying to be polite. We're trying to show grace. But in all fairness, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you got to fight with one eye at times.
October 25th, 2025, Etihad Arena, Abu Dhabi. 13,220 fans packed in. Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane for the undisputed UFC heavyweight championship. This was Tom's moment, his first defense as the full champion after John Jones retired.
I'm seeing it all online. Tom quit, Tom quit, Tom quit. It got dicey out there for him and he quit. That's what the people are saying. Complete hogwash, complete nonsense. If you just watch it, you will see that those were two nasty, deep eye pokes. You could say that he lost that first round. I think he lost that first round. I think we all agree that he lost that first round.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you could. I mean, that is fair game. But to suggest that he quit, that he wanted a way out, that he looked for a way out because the going got tough is just something that I'm not going to subscribe to. You know John Jones is going to weigh in. This is the guy. This is the guy. For the record, John Jones was offered for the millionth time $30 million to fight this man, and he didn't. You can't claim after the fact, this is the guy, but you know he's going to spike the football. And there's a cruel irony involved in the fact that Tom doesn't fight John Jones, but still gets eye poked. But this is tough for him. This is the first time in his career where he's not going to be beloved by people because people are going to accuse him of being a quitter because they're going to say that the going got tough and he asked for a way out. I think that's absolute hogwash. He got poked in both eyes.
The fight starts, and honestly, it was fire. Both guys came to throw down. Gane was landing that jab, making Tom's nose bleed. Tom was pressing forward with power. Gane stuffed Tom's takedown attempt like it was nothing. We were watching a legitimate competitive fight between the two best heavyweights in the world. And then, disaster. 4 minutes and 35 seconds into round one, Cyril Gane's fingers go straight into Tom Aspinall's eyes. And I'm not talking about a little poke. This was knuckle deep into both eyeballs. A double eye poke that left Tom unable to see.
Little Gane in black. Tom Aragon. Moving into Aspinall. Oh, nice. Aspinall goes hot. Cyril Gane was ranked higher than Tom. Quick jab from Gane. I don't love the spinning. Leaky here early. Is he prepared? The wolf. Look like an eye poke there as Gane.
The fight gets called off. No contest. Tom's still the champion technically, but nobody's happy. The crowd boos. Tom's devastated. Gaines emotional and apologizing. Dana White calls it a total pain in the ass. And that's when the MMA world absolutely exploded with reactions.
Total pain in the ass, but yes.
Now, you knew Jon Jones wasn't going to stay quiet about this. The man who's been accused of ducking Tom Aspinall for over a year, the guy who retired specifically to avoid this fight, oh, he had jokes.